Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Nickel City Mafia channel, where we talk all things Buffalo and then some. Today, we're going to be talking about the Buffalo Sabres and their current state of affairs. Joining me today, one of my favorite people in the world, my dad, Bill Thornton. Good morning, Dad.
Morning.
How are you feeling today?
Pretty good.
Awesome. So happy to have you joining me today. I know it's a little early, and I appreciate it. But Dad, why don't you tell the channel a little bit about yourself and your ties to Buffalo?
Okay, I was born and raised in Buffalo, New York, in South Buffalo, on Marilla Street most of my life. I did live on the west side till I finished first grade, then we moved to the South Buffalo. But living in Buffalo was, you know, back even in those days was a big hockey town. In Sure, the Sabres weren't around in those early years, but we had the American Hockey League Buffalo Bisons. They were in existence from 1940 to 1970, and I became a fan of theirs. And then growing up through a high school, they won a championship in 1963, and I used to take the South Park bus for a dime down to the old Odd, and we'd watch the hockey games, and that was really pretty exciting. So, I've been a Buffalo hockey fan for a long, long time. And then in 71, I was in the military and I was away when the Sabres came into existence, but I immediately became a Sabres fan, and I've been with them ever since.
That's awesome. That's something I didn't know. That I didn't know there was before the Sabres that there was hockey out there and a Bison's team. I know about the Bisons with the baseball team, but not the hockey.
We had two Buffalo Bison teams in town at the same time.
That's all. That's crazy. That's a good story. All right, Dad. Well, so let's get into the conversation about the Sabres and the current state of affairs. A lot's going on. Disappointing season again last year. It's been 10 seasons since we've been into the playoffs. I think that's the longest active streak in the NHL. Sabres made a change midway through the season, I believe, where they let Kruger go and hired Don Granato. And give me some thoughts on Granato.
You know, uh, he comes from a hockey family and he has a hockey background. He's been the USA coach and he's, working with the Olympic teams. He's been an assistant coach here and there. He never played himself. His brothers did, I believe. Two of his brothers played. He never played himself. But, when I saw what he did last year, and I don't know how he did it. I don't care as long as it keeps working. He took those young kids, Eichel was gone, okay? And we were down to our fourth goalie. We ended up with our number six goalie. He got those young kids playing hockey and inspired them somehow, giving them the belief that they could win. And they became very competitive, even though they lost a lot. They were competitive and fun to watch at the end. So it's going to be interesting to see when he has a whole new season, what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, it's one thing when you know your team's struggling, but if they're competing and they're not giving up in games, and you can see that as a fan, you're kind of okay with that. But what you were seeing with Kruger, I saw a lot of disappointment from the fans out there on Facebook chats and things like that. And I know it was a struggle for you as well to see how they were playing.
Yeah, I was disappointed. I didn't like Kruger from the day they announced he was going to be the coach, just because of his background and some of the things that he said in his interviews. But I buy the NHL package every year, and so that I can get to see the Sabres play 82 games. I catch them when they come out into the West Coast live, but and I just didn't like seeing some of the things that he did. And I didn't understand them. I understood them. I didn't agree with them. Like Jeff Skinner scores 40 goals. Kruger takes over and puts him on the fourth line. Yeah, I know he wanted him to maybe get some more scoring on some different lines. But then when he wasn't scoring, then he would make him a healthy scratch because he says he wasn't,
That's
I don't
crazy.
know, garbage, garbage.
Yeah, that's crazy. So let's talk a little bit about the Seattle Kraken and the expansion draft that's coming up, and I think you got the latest list that's available to the public, close to it. But let's talk about the draft, and then who do we have protected right now?
Okay, yeah, this is a pretty exciting time for Sabre fans. It's exciting or apprehensive time, you know. Right now, I picked this list up as of noon yesterday from WGR 550 in Buffalo. And of course, this is just speculation. This is not the official list because the official lists are not due till today. But they have Anders Bork, Jack Eichel, Tage Thompson, Victor Olsson, Reinhardt, Casey Middlestaff, Rasmus Asplund, Rasmus Dahlin, Henry Yokiharu, and William Borgen protected. The big one is that helped with the. There was two things that surprised me in there, and then I agreed with them. Well, the one surprise was the other day when Jeff Skinner waived his no trade clause so that he could be unprotected. What that does is that it allowed them to get Rasmus Asplund, who has a lot of promises, a young 23-year-old, to get protected. And then all of the ones that I read up until then had Rasmus Ristolainen protected because he was in a lot of trade rumors. WGR 550 says they don't believe he's going to be protected, which will allow them to protect William Borgen, a 24-year-old, not that much younger than Ristolainen, but he's an up-and-comer. So, that's what they're seeing right now, what they're saying now. The lists are due, sometime, let me see what the heck, the lists are due by 5 p.m. Eastern time today to the NHL. Okay?
Yep.
So there could be some more action because up until 1 p.m. Eastern time, at 1 p.m. Eastern time, all trades, waivers, and signings are frozen until Thursday. Seattle has the only exemption. They can still make trades. And what this allows them to do is go out and also to talk to the unrestricted free agents and say, hey, if I pick you, will you sign with us? Things like that. So,
right. So I think they're allowed to take two players from every team that are not on the protected list. Is that how that kind of works?
One player from any team.
Okay.
And they have to pick up 20 guys that are under contract. Okay, and they also have to meet 60% of the cap with these guys that they're picking up. So they're talking like $48 million that they have to hit a minimum of. Okay. So like if they pick up we'll say they pick up Ristolainen, and Ristolainen's cap is $5.4 million. All right, so they got to be watching what they're doing and everything, and
Gotcha. So the only team that's exempt from that expansion draft is Vegas, and I guess that was the deal that was struck between Bill Foley in the original agreement with the NHL. So,
right.
So they're safe as far as their guys. Now they do give up some money there. The downside is that he doesn't get a cut of the Seattle $650 million expansion fee, so he's willing to forego a little money there and to keep his team protected.
Yeah, and of course, they're only 2 years old, the team, or something like that, and 2 or 3 years old.
2 or 3, yeah.
Because that would be okay, we spent the last 2 or 3 years building and trying to get this team from where it was, which was pretty good when they drafted the expansion, to where it is now, and then they have to try to give it up.
Right. No, I totally agree. It was a good move on his part.
I think it was a good move on his part and the NHL, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. So the expansion draft takes place July 21st, starting at 5 p.m. PST time. Yeah,
on ESPN2.
Yeah, so that should be fun.
Yeah.
All right, Dad, let's get into some topics that, I'm having a hard time hearing about this stuff, and I want to get your thoughts. So let's talk about Jack Eichel. I mean, Jack Eichel's become my favorite player on the team, and now I'm hearing he's unhappy with our team, and there are tons of trade talks out there. But kind of tell me, what happened with Jack Eichel and the Sabres? Why is he so upset with the team?
Well, at first they were just talking, and and he says, I didn't like the disconnect, and then as more information came out, he's totally unhappy because he wanted this experimental. He has a herniated disc in his neck, and he wants to get this experimental surgery. And all of the Sabres doctors and I'm saying, no, this has never been tried on an NHL player. There are other means. There are other surgical means, and there's also rehab means. And so that's where their biggest argument was. And I guess this is icing on the cake. He's been in the 4 or 5 years now. He's been in the league, and he can't make the playoffs, and their team can't make the playoffs. So that's got to be disappointing because these guys are making a lot of money, but they still have "I want to win" in their hearts,
Yeah.
and so that's got to be pretty disappointing. So, you know, I don't know, if I can believe all of the media and everything, but Kevin McAdams last time, or Kevin Adam, he said the last time that Eichel has not requested a trade yet.
Mm.
Okay, and then I'm going to say this personally, from what I'm seeing, I don't think that Kevin McAdams the GM wants to trade him, because what he's asking for, nobody's going to pay. He's asking for 4 first-round equivalent picks. He wants a first-round pick, and then he wants 3 other guys that, whether they were prospects coming up or they were, already up or so forth, that were former first-round picks.
Yeah. I'm hearing that price might have come down a little bit recently. Some of the podcasts that I've been watching, and I guess they're not getting. They're not going to get. I mean, they always ask high, right? You're always going to ask. Let's shoot for the stars, and if we hit the moon, cool. We'll be good. Yeah, so let's get into those trade rumors. So what I'm hearing, the teams that are going to definitely be making at least some type of reaching out to the Sabres and making an offer are the Minnesota Wild, the Rangers, potentially the Kings, and I don't know, would Seattle do anything? Because Seattle can make all kinds of deals as well. What are you hearing, Don?
I'm hearing basically the same thing, but I also heard the Ducks were in on it for a while. The Chicago was in on it for a while. I would like the Ducks or Chicago to do it, because then they're like number 3 and number 5 in the draft.
Totally, yeah. I was seeing that as well. That would be great to get another top 10 pick. During the draft.
So personally, my personal feelings, I don't think it's going to happen. Because first of all, the biggest question is, okay, I'm the general manager that's going to be receiving him. Is he going to be able to play?
Yeah.
And if he does have this okay surgery, all right, he's going to be out for 3 or 4 months. So, I don't really think at this point, I'll be surprised if it happens. Let's just put it that way. Because of that, why do you want to pay a guy $10 million that you don't have yet, that might not play for you for half the year? I think that maybe Buffalo will keep him, and then they'll let him get his surgery or rehab, whatever he's got, and then maybe they'll use him for trade bait before the season's over, because he's still he doesn't have a no trade clause until next year.
Gotcha. Yeah, we have him under contract till 2026, but and you paid him a lot of money, and you're right. So the team taking him has to be worried about first and foremost that injury. Are we even going to get him to play for us? Then I got to take on that money towards the cap, and if he's not injured, this is a completely different conversation. He's one of the best out there, and but with that injury, I don't know. I mean, again, that's why the asking price, I believe, is dropping, and if a deal is going to be made, they're going to have to do that, and yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. But you're right, I'd be scared if I was a GM taking that on. But there's GMs out there that like to gamble a little bit, and if he hits, watch out. He's going to elevate their team to a whole new level, and he'll come in there with a new energy, excited, especially if it's a team that's competing and it's not going through a rebuild. He kind of knows the Sabres look to be going through a rebuild.
Right. So we'll just have to wait and see. If he goes, I'll be sad. He's one of my favorite players, and I'll just say thanks for the memories, and wish him for the best of luck. But I'm thinking right now it's not going to happen this year. Right now, before the draft, but I could be surprised.
Yeah, he's not. I mean, the one thing I've noticed about him, he doesn't seem to be a vocal leader. I mean, what do you think about it? He's the captain, right? What do you think about his leadership skills since he's been on the Sabres?
Well, they don't really publicize a lot about his leadership skills. I see him on the ice. I guess he leads by example.
Leads by example, yeah. That's the most important thing, right?
He's never sluggish on the ice.
Yeah.
When he comes over the boards, he's full speed. He's going.
Right.
So,
well, thankfully, if he does move, Dad, all you got to do is you get that autographed puck that I gave you, which happened to be a draft puck. It's not a Sabres puck, and you can move it to his new case wherever he does, whatever team he does move to.
yeah. The strange thing was, that I was going to buy a jersey this year. It was either going to be Eichel or Reinhardt.
Yeah.
And now I'm going, oh man. And I don't have an American Express card. If I had an American Express card, I'd buy one because they have the jersey assurance where if the guy gets traded, they take the jersey back and give you a new one.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't even know that was a thing because that's a lot of times I worry about that stuff as well.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, you just mentioned the other guy who potentially, I mean, there's talks of him being traded, and that's Reinhardt. And, tell me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talks, but then now, like for a week or so, I haven't heard his name mentioned. Okay. Which to me means that, well, maybe Kevin has got a deal in there and he says, okay, I don't want to announce this deal till just before the draft or during the draft. Because there's some surprises during the draft where the commission will come up and say, we have a draft, but So, and Sam's going to bring a first round draft pick and plus maybe one other, like a middle six forward or a prospect also with him. Because Sam, to me, has been our most consistent player since he's been in. He came in the year before Eichel. He was our number one pick that year, and he came in and he scores 25 goals every year consistently.
Yeah.
And he's another good example for the other young players of how he plays the game. And the scary thing, right, if you get Eichel and Reinhardt both gone, you got to replace 50, 60 goals in your lineup. And Buffalo's notorious for not scoring.
Yeah, especially last year. And the first half of that year was tough. I mean, they were not scoring at all. But Reinhardt's been one of your favorites. I know you talk about him all the time. I mean, he seems to be just gets the job done, doesn't say much, and just seems to be a great leader for the team as well.
The only thing he said in his exit interview, because I watched some of their exit interviews, I watched Sam's, and the only thing he says is that he's really, really not interested in going through another rebuild.
Yeah, that's the thing. I forgot. I wanted to ask you that as well. I mean, it's been 10 years. It sounds like we might be going through a rebuild again. Are the Sabres fans going to be able to deal with that, Dad?
Yeah, you know what? The Sabres fans are like the Buffalo Bills fans. They're loyal, and no, sure. Nobody wants to go through a rebuild, no more than I wanted to go through 10 or 11 years, whatever the heck it was with the Bills without
for sure.
Playoffs,
Yeah.
But, if they're doing it, if they're doing it the right way, and we got these young kids coming up and, don't bring the young kids up and then send them back down. Just bringing them up and sending them down, bringing them up and sending them down. If you're going to bring them up, get their feet wet and let's go with it,
Yeah. I'm hoping that Eichel and Reinhardt both stay. I'm hoping all this is nonsense. And again, if it does happen, I hope one of them stays around. We need some leadership around these youngsters that we're going to be bringing up.
If I was the general manager, I'd be talking to Reinhardt right now and say, okay, because Reinhardt's a restricted free agent with arbitration eligibility, which means that when they make him a qualifying offer, he can say, I'm not going to take it. I'm going to go to arbitration,
Right.
So, I would say, okay, Sam, you're only 25 years old. How about signing the 3 years for it? I think he got paid $5 million or 5.1 million or something last year. I don't know what it was. I say, how about give us 3 years and we'll do 22 million. We'll do 6, 7, and 8 or something like that.
Right.
Then you're only going to be 28 years old, and then you're going to be an unrestricted free agent. And then you can test the waters when you're still in your prime at 28 years old.
Right.
For the big one, So that's what I would be trying to sell at this point in time.
Yeah, one thing that disturbed me yesterday, I was watching a podcast, and I think it was a Ranger podcast. And the reason I was watching it is because they're in the hunt for Eichel. And one of the guys on there mentioned that a lot of the problems the Sabres have is because it's not a good city to go to. And I was like, I wish I was able to chat back in with this guy. I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, yes, I guess the Rangers think they're all that in the city of New York, but Buffalo's a great town. I mean, we have a brand new stadium. The stadium's not very old, right, Dad?
I don't know how old it
It's
was
not
built.
that old. I mean,
I was away.
it's
It is great. You can talk to the alumni. The Buffalo Sabres alumni is a big group of guys that played for the Sabres and either stayed there or came back after they retired to live there in the Buffalo area.
yeah,
It's the same way with the Buffalo Bills retired guys.
exactly.
Okay, it's a sports town that appreciates their players. Okay, and yeah, New York Rangers can't tell you that they're in the same state as us, or so the Islanders. They can't say, "Well, we're better." The Bills are a better team than we are. I mean, a better hometown.
Yeah, yeah.
So
No, it was
that's just
just
trash talk.
it was trash talk. But you're right. I mean, look at Jim Kelly. I bet he never thought he'd make his home in Buffalo when he came to the Bills. So uh, people we love our sports teams and we back them. And yeah, once you come here, I don't see you wanting to leave unless you're having some issues like Eichel's having. But I hope that that can be repaired. And again, if those two stay, and we got the number one draft this year, I think. And again, one thing I did want to ask you, I haven't seen any updates on Eichel's injury. I mean, is he going through rehab now? Is he ready? Do they think he'd be ready by the start of the year?
I don't know. He's skating.
Skating.
Okay, but skating is not going to tell you. Can't tell you. That's all I know is that he's skating. I did pick that up recently, the last couple of days, but that can't tell you a herniated disc when you're skating. Well, that's not going to tell you how that's going to hold up in contact.
Yeah, exactly.
You start
Exactly.
getting your head banged off the boards and that.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna find out a lot over this upcoming week as far as if any of those trades. There's gonna be a lot of wheeling and dealing, maybe with the Kraken's expansion draft, and then of course leading into the NHL draft next weekend. Were there anyone other players on the teams that you've been hearing rumors about that could potentially be up for trade opportunities for the Sabres?
The only other one that I know of is Rustalainen. That's the guy that they just unprotected that they were trying to talk to. He's been I don't know. He's got to be with the Sabres for eight years or something like that. And he's now and he's let's see how old. Where is he at? He's 26 years old now, so he's probably been with us for 7 or 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so people are saying, "Well, let him." I think that they were letting him go unprotected, so that he can move on and try to show his skills and get into the playoffs or something too. Also,
Right.
I don't know why they did it, but I thought it was a good move because he can protect Morgan now, the younger guy.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dad, let's talk about what we're going to be talking about next week, which is we're going to be reviewing the draft. By the way, normally these streams go live on Saturday. My dad and I are going to be back at it again, but we're going to do it on Sunday so that we can capture both rounds of the NHL draft, which starts Friday and then ends on Saturday. So, Dad, we have the top pick overall. Give me your GM. Who are you taking, Dad?
It's a really tough decision. Everybody, I won't say mine yet, but everybody's saying Owen Power's going to go number one. This big, tall defenseman from the University of Michigan. Yeah, he's a good defenseman, but he's not a generational defenseman. He's not a Rasmus Dahlin or a Phil Housley or any of these other guys in these other teams that were drafted number one. He's not one of those. And, he's going to have a good career. He's going to have a good career. So, you got to say, okay, all right, we're the lowest scoring team, but we also give up the most goals. Right now, the Sabres in the pipeline, they're not going to lose both Colin Miller and Rustalainen unless they trade them, so they'll be back. And then in their prospects, they got a kid named Ryan Johnson who's supposed to be pretty good. He's a defenseman. I think he's in the AHL that's coming up. They have Matisse Samuelson, which is a big, tall defenseman, a big, heavy one. His father was a really great defenseman. And he did get up in the last, 15 games of the season to play. So we got some young guys coming up. So, personally, for me this year, I would not go with Owen Power.
Wow.
Now, my next decision would be between Matthew Vernier. He's in the University of Michigan also.
Mm-hmm.
All the reports from the different people in the scouts say that Matthew Vernier is the guy that you can count on to help take you to the playoffs or even the Stanley Cup. He's not going to be a Sidney Crosby or anything like that. But he has got the skills. He plays center or the wing, and he's just, plays with a lot. He's just good.
Yeah.
The other guy is a young 18-year-old out of Sweden, and his name is William Eklund. Now, he's been over there playing in the Swedish league and doing well. And in the Swedish league, he's playing with professionals over there.
Right.
Okay, so I would not be surprised if they go with either one of those guys, Verniers or Eklund.
Right. Well,
go ahead.
The two I looked at, so you and I mean, everyone's been talking about Owen Powers, and when I first heard defenseman and I hear all this Jack Eichel and Reinhardt talk, I'm like, why would we want to do that? We just took a defenseman in the first round a few years ago. Why wouldn't we want to get some offense? We've been struggling to score. And so the two that I had on my list, Dad, were Matthew Berniers, who you just talked about, and Owen Power. So I did some research, and Dad, I don't know, I'm actually sold on Owen Powers now, and I got to tell you why. Basically, he played in the World Championships. I don't know if you got to see any of that, but he played with the professionals, and you would have not known that this guy was a college guy. He was not even in the NHL yet. He was amazing. He was calm. He actually pushes the puck up well, and he actually goes deep into the offensive zone and makes some plays there as well. So I was impressed with this guy. I'm like, okay, I can see this, and he's still young, 6'6", something like 213 pounds, something like that. But his skating skills are very good, and again, I saw some offensive presence as well. So I and based on a lot of the podcasts I've been watching, I mean, that the World Championships really elevated him above anyone else. I mean, he was close up until then. And I know Matthew Bernier I think he was on the team as well. I don't know if he got injured or what have you. But anyhow, he was my second guy. And you're right. I've watched some video on him, and great speed, elusive, definitely going to be a center that you can count on for years to come and build around that person. So I don't have a problem with either one, but if it's me at the GM, based on what I saw at the World Hockey Championships, I'm going with Owen Powers.
Yeah, I saw some of the videos on that too, and they always say you're building a team, you build it from the back end, from the goalies to the defensemen and everything. But I said, with the young kids we got coming up, the guys that we have on there right now, Sabres have 10 picks in this draft. They got one in the first round right now, 2 in the second round, 2 in the third round. I'd go with one of both Verniers or Eklund, and I'd pick up another defenseman along the way, 1 or 2 defensemen along the way to add them to my prospect list, because you got to keep your prospects growing too, the list growing. And if okay, so he's not going to stop. He's not going to be the miracle. Owen Power's not going to be the miracle worker to come in here and make the defense go from like 30th to 10th or something.
Right.
But I'd like to see us scoring a few more goals than that.
Yeah, you can convince me that pretty easily, because, like I said, I saw how they struggled to score, and I could easily see Beniers getting chosen. But one thing I do want to ask you about as well, there's some conversations with both these guys, especially Powers, that they might stay in school another year. What's your thoughts on that? If you know that is their intention, which I don't think. I think they'd be absolutely crazy based on Owen Powers and how he performed in the World Championships. He's ready. What does he need another year of college? He's going to lose out on a year of that big money. What's your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that is I can see these are young kids, Vernier and Power both, all right? They did not get to experience college at all because of COVID.
Yeah.
They played hockey, but that was it. They didn't experience none of the camaraderie, none of the frats, none of the big crowds in Michigan and that. And maybe they just want to go back to be a little bit normal before they have to go away.
Right.
I don't know why would they want to go back. There's another kid that's going to probably. One of my surprise guys is going to be a kid named Mason Mctavish. he's a center also, and he's not, I don't think he's rated in the top 10. But then Owen Power's not rated number one on every list anymore.
Hmm.
Matthew Bernier's is number one on several of the lists right now.
Yeah. Yeah, so again, that I can go either way. I only at first during the week when we talked, it was Vernier. He was top of my board, but then I did a little more research on Powers, and I saw his play at the World Championships, and that kind of like wow. Even the experts were pretty impressed with what he did. So either one, I'm happy with. I'm not going to be disappointed one way or the other, and I do hope, if a trade is made, I'm hoping we can get one of those picks inside the 10 and have two picks inside the top 10. But hopefully those trades don't happen. I want to keep the team together. Let's get some of these new young guys. I mean, imagine adding, you got Skinner, if Reinhardt stays and Eichel is able to stay, and now you add a guy like Beniers, right?
Right. And I think Skinner will be back up to the net. I expect a comeback season from Skinner. And hopefully, I don't think they will because of his contract's $9 million. Hopefully, now that he's not protected, the Kraken are not going to take Skinner. And then we trade Eichel and Reinhardt. Then we'd have to be replacing 80 goals.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a tough pill to swallow. It's already a struggle for us to score last year, and now we get rid of those scores. I mean, again, I'm hoping everything stays together, but all the talks make it seem like something's going to happen. Well, we'll know in the next week. We're not going to have to wait much longer, and we'll see what happens, right?
Like I said, the trades are shut off this afternoon, and they don't open up again until Thursday. So there could be a lot of action Thursday and a lot of action during the draft on Friday.
Yeah. All right, Dad. It's been a good conversation. Let's wrap things up here with some final thoughts. First of all, before we get into the final thoughts, I do want to mention, have you tell the people a little bit about your channel. You got a channel. You what inspired me to start this channel. So talk a little bit about where the people can find you on YouTube and what your channel's about.
Okay, you can find me out on YouTube. My channel name is SoCal Sabre, all one word, and it's Sabre, not ER at the end, or Bill Thornton that way. And I do videos, I do some chats about, ongoing things. But mostly I started this in COVID, in July last year, because I wanted something to do, and now I like it. And I do one or two videos a week I put out, and most of them are on board games, and they could be sports board games, war board games, family board games, RPG, and most of them I'll do unboxing to show people the contents of a game if they're thinking about, well, maybe I want this game and that. And now I'm starting to do more little short demos. Once I get the game going and I learn it a little bit, I go out and do a demo to show them how they play, how the game plays, to help them make their decisions on their purchases and so forth. So go out in there and check it. You might if you go out there and check it right now, you might win a free game.
Definitely check that out. What I like about your channel, Dad, the most is that you're bringing family back to the table. Putting down those cell phones, getting them back at the table together as a family and playing some fun games. So to me, that's a cool thing that you're doing there. I know you do play some, I think there's only one video game you actually do a review on, but most of it's board games, right?
Yes. Yeah, the only video I do is I play Tower 3D Pro, which is an air traffic control simulation. I was an air traffic controller for 20 years. I haven't been in a job since '86, and I still miss that job. So this helps fill a little bit of a hole.
Yeah, I've watched some of your videos on that. It's pretty cool, and I think you still could go get hired at some of these airports, Dad, and do a great job there based on what I'm seeing in that game.
Thanks.
I'll be leaving a link as well to my dad's channel in the description shortly after the video ends. Anyhow, Dad, we're going to be at it again next Sunday. It's going to be an exciting week for sure. And we're going to be talking on next Sunday, same time, 7 o'clock. But it's going to be interesting what happens. I can't wait to see. I'm super excited about the season. Again, I hope some things go our way. And I hope, if we're in a rebuilding year, as long as these guys are competing, they're scoring goals, they're not giving up on games, I can deal with that. And I think you could as well. And I think most Sabres fans. We talked about that earlier. But any closing thoughts you have, Dad?
No, I think we covered a lot of good stuff here today. A lot of people won't agree with what I said, but that's just coming from me. It's not coming from anybody else. So.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, Dad. Well, again, thank you, everybody. If you like what you see, give us a like, share with others, and subscribe to the channel. I mean, this is what makes it fun for us. We would love to hear your comments on what we talked about today. And again, we always love to just meet new people. So that was one of the other reasons for me doing this whole thing, was to meet more Sabres fans, more Bills Mafia. And again, we're all about Buffalo and then some. And then some, I just want to mention, during the week, we do some golf podcasts. My good buddy of mine, Tony Altieri, we do some golf podcasts during the week. So that's the then some. But for the most part, on the weekends, it's all about Buffalo. So, Dad, thanks a lot. You have a great day. Really appreciate you joining me. And everybody else, have a great weekend, and we'll talk soon.
Take care, everybody.